Hello everyone and welcome to the next episode of Art Side of Life, where I chat with inspiring artists 5 days a week. My name is Eva and my guest today is Lemia Crescent, and in this episode you will learn how to make art videos and how to motivate yourself to make art even if you don't have a supportive environment around you.
You have to do it because you enjoy it and you love doing it. So that's kind of why I always kept doing it. And then I would upload it to the internet to share it with other people because no one in my immediate life was that supportive. So I kind of found that support on the internet. And then I began selling stuff and then it kind of blossomed from there.
Lemmy is a self-taught traditional artist and video game appreciator. She has a very popular YouTube and Twitch channel where she shares video games, movies, anime speed paints, art supply reviews and art challenges and also tutorials. Her favorite mediums are crayons, markers, colored pencils and also watercolors. So please welcome Lemmy Crescent and let's get to the interview. So welcome everyone to the next episode of Art Side of Life, and I'm super happy to have Lemmy here. Hi!
Hi guys!
Oh, my pleasure that you took time and joined us here, and let's just dive in right to your background and maybe you can share some of your biggest turning points where led you where you are now.
Okay, so I guess it's kind of a little bit of a story. I never went to art school or anything like that. I've just always been really super passionate about art. And I haven't had the most encouraging experiences in grade school regarding art, but I pursued it anyway because it was my own personal interest. And I actually went to college to be a teacher. So I have a master's degree and I never did anything with it. But throughout my whole college career, I was always selling artwork and doing things like that and being involved in the art community. And then when I finally finished school, I realized it's not teaching that I really wanted to pursue, but art instead. Mm-hmm. So I started up a YouTube channel. I had a DeviantArt back in the day, which I used to sell like a lot of art on there. And this is the turning point for when I started to get more popular. I know exactly when this was. I started doing Crayola crayon videos because Crayola crayons are for children in the United States and they're really super cheap and we love these crayons to death. So I made these pictures using the crayons, which wasn't an ordinary sort of thing for an artist to use. And that's kind of what got me traction on YouTube because not everybody was doing that sort of thing at the time.
And was it like a accident kind of in a way, or you knew that there is a audience for this topic?
I think everything was an accident. I'm an oops everything, but that's okay. I did a lot of commissions doing crayon work and stuff like that because I just thought it was fun and it was different, and I sold a whole bunch of things regarding it. But I also had a lot of questions on my DeviantArt account, and this was back in the day when DeviantArt was actually popular, which has kind of like gone downhill.
Yeah, they started to have really strange content, so yeah.
Yeah, they started to really try to monetize the whole website and kind of screw the people on the platform, so no one really uses it anymore. But back in the day, it was really great for commissions. It was a huge thing, and everyone sold a whole bunch of stuff. And people wanted to know how I made these pictures using crayons. So then I made the YouTube account to show the people on that website how I made those pictures. And then like a whole bunch of people from DeviantArt went to that website, and then a whole bunch of people on YouTube found me through those videos. And that's how I kind of got my start.
So how many years do you have YouTube now?
Jeez, I don't even know. It's been a long time. I don't know, maybe 7 years? 7 years? I have to check it because I had an account. I would watch other people, but I didn't start uploading until a certain time.
Yeah.
So I'm not really exactly sure. I can't tell you.
So how many years are you like active on YouTube?
Active? Once again, I'd have to look it up for you because it's been a really long time. And what I've been doing with my YouTube since I started was that I changed what I was doing completely. I started with video game and art videos. And then I kind of just went into just art because I saw that that's what my audience really wanted from me. But it's kind of like popcorn where you're not going to put one kernel in the microwave and wait for that to pop before you put another kernel in. Yeah. I just kind of pursued a whole bunch of different things to see what I liked. So I had a whole bunch of different kinds of art videos. And some of them I decided I don't want to do these kinds of videos. Like I had tutorials, I had how to draw certain characters. I had a whole bunch of other different things. So, okay, I found the statistic. My oldest video is from 2011.
Okay,
so
yeah.
Years. I was kind of close.
yeah, almost.
I found it for you.
And now YouTube is your full-time thing, or do you do other stuff on the side?
Yeah, I do a lot of different things. It's kind of like I've always been. It kind of comes and goes what I do. So I do basically what's asked of me. Like I've done a lot of stuff with art supply companies. I've made ads for them for their art supplies. I've actually went to Denver once and I did a demonstration for Winsor & Newton, which was really super cool.
Cool.
They like paid for me to fly out there. I was like, oh my God, I feel so special.
I was like, oh, thank you.
I know, right? I was like, oh, I feel like someone of importance. And then they put like this sign, like who I was. I really felt special.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, so I've done a lot of work with art companies, and that's kind of the majority of the freelancing that I do now. I used to do a lot of commissions for just, someone wants a picture, and then they'd tell me what they want, and I'd make it for them, and I'd get paid. But then as my channel got bigger, I was kind of found by art supply companies, and that's what my commissions turned into, was just stuff for art companies, because they pay more. Let's be honest. They pay a lot more, and you do a lot less, and it's much better.
And then you have more time to create more free content for other people, right? So you have to always balance your time. What is the most efficient? Balance.
But then I started to get more stuff for art supply companies, and I couldn't keep up with doing them for individuals, so I had to kind of like let that go. But it's always been a process of like supply and demand and what I can accomplish in the time that I have. So I don't do commissions for like private commissions anymore for people, but I do work for companies. But also my YouTube is much larger than it used to be. So that's kind of a primary focus that it's always been there. I've always uploaded because that's how I found more clients to do work for and stuff like that. But I've always been kind of busy, and now I'm going to look into like selling prints and stuff, so I'm going to do that. But I know a lot of artists use Patreon, and I just wanted to touch upon this. I never had any success with Patreon. Never.
So not yet.
No Patreon for me. But a lot of people, like if you want to try to pursue it, have had luck on Patreon. I just wasn't one of them.
So for you, the YouTube works much better. And so for the sponsors or the art supplies companies, do you contact them or they contact you and then you kind of choose the deals which are the best fit for you?
Okay, so this is a question I get like all the time on my channel. Like, how do I get art supplies and how do I get this so I can do this? And you have to have some sort of following for the art supply company to contact you, because honestly, they have to find you and you have to have an audience to try to show their product to, or else they're not going to want to give a free product to someone, because that's
obviously
giving a free product to someone, So there are certain companies out there that you can approach and you can ask, and you can have a smaller following and you can still get that item. But for some of the bigger, more expensive items, you're going to have a bigger audience. And just for complete clarity, I do art supply reviews, but whenever I get a product from a company, they never pay me to do it. They just give me the item. So I do them basically to let my audience know if it's a good product that I like, and they don't pay me. My views are 100% honest. So that's how that works. And I pick and choose now, because I get so many offers. I pick and choose what I think my audience would really like. So I don't waste their time. So I kind of like look at everything and then I'm like, no, this one's good. But that's kind of how that works for me.
And so what is your kind of thinking process when you have to decide on like what to say yes and no to, in or if, like projects or companies to work with?
Well, I like to go with reputable companies. Like if there's a reputable company that wants me to review something, I almost always say yes. Like a big company like Winsor & Newton, Sakura of America, things like that, I'll definitely be like, yes, I'll do it. But if it's a very tiny company, I have to look at what their product actually is, how unique it is, how helpful it is. I've done art supply reviews on some really awesome little palettes that are travel palettes that you can like balance on your knee that have like water things in that. It's like really cool. So I did a review of that, and then there was another art bag that was like you could kind of like turn it into a desk on the go while you're standing. You could attach it to a tripod. And I was like, oh, that's crazy. I'm going to review that. So it has to be a really good product, or it has to be from a reputable company because I know more people are going to look into buying that. So I want to like tell them what I think of it and help them because things are expensive. And if I can get them for free and I could help you, like that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, definitely.
That's kind of how I go about that.
Yeah, and so what is kind of your main source of income in terms of, or how do you combine different incomes? Like, what do you live from?
Okay, so a large chunk of my income comes from YouTube videos. A large chunk comes from Twitch, which is a live streaming website, because I make a weekly video and I just record me working on it live and talk to people at the same time. So that they kind of go together and that works. I also do a lot of, well, depending how many jobs I can do a month, I get a large portion of my income from companies working for companies. But I kind of want to be less dependent on freelance sort of work for companies. So I'm trying to shy away from that. And that's why I want to kind of start my prints and see like how well those do. Because I've never sold prints ever. So I'm going to try it and see what happens. I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of people are looking into either their own shop on their own website or Society6, Redbubble, and there are so many different sources. Actually, I was just doing this research and I found like 30 websites where you can actually like sell your art prints. So it's, yeah.
I've noticed they're really expensive though. Like to get a print was just like, wow, I have to really like something to buy a print for that much, you know? So I was thinking by maybe if I did it individually by myself and sent it out in the mail, then it might be more affordable to other people or something like that. I don't know. I haven't really exactly decided how I'm going to do it, but I'm pretty sure I'm kind of leaning towards doing it myself to see how that goes. Yeah, and then if it totally tanks, I'll just, here you go, Redbubble, take it.
Yeah, because then you have to take time for the shipment, packaging, and all of that, which takes a big chunk of your time. So that's kind of the consideration on that front. But
that's true. So I'm a little bit worried. I'm kind of like, well, I hope not that many people are interested so I can still do art stuff. But at the same time, you kind of want that interest because you want the money. So I don't really know. I'm just going to see what happens.
And so how does it work on Twitch? What is the monetary part of that? You get paid per video, or is it like a monthly thing, or depending how many people join for your show?
Well, both websites, YouTube and Twitch, are a monthly thing. So you make money off of ad revenue on YouTube. You also make money off of ad revenue on Twitch. So
that's the same. Okay.
You have to make at least $100 on YouTube at the end of the month, at the end of the cycle. You have to make at least $100 before they'll send you the money in the mail via check or direct deposit or whatever you signed up for. Twitch, I think, will send you whatever you made, but I'm not exactly sure. Because I started Twitch, I already had a following, so I never really had the below $100 thing. I'm like, I don't know. But through Twitch specifically, people can subscribe to you, which is different than subscribing on YouTube. Yeah. It's something that you pay for. So it's kind of like actually subscribing to a magazine or something like that. Okay. So you pay to subscribe to that person, and it could be $5 a month, $10 a month, $25 a month. And as the content creator, you get a portion of that, and Twitch gets a portion of it as well. So if someone does, I think it's 25, which is the highest subscription a month, you, the creator, gets 70%, I believe. So the more someone spends to subscribe, the more you get of that total amount.
Ah, that's interesting. Yeah. Because I never tried it, so that's why I'm like wondering as well how that works, because it's still quite new for artists, because it was mostly for the gamers, right? So it's kind of like a new platform possible to move to. And and now I guess you haven't experienced it on YouTube because you are there for a long time. But now they changed also the ad revenues that actually you have to have 10,000 views before you can actually apply ads to your channel.
On YouTube?
Yes.
I heard that, but I wasn't really exactly sure what the exact statistics are because I'm already like over that.
Yeah, exactly.
So now everyone keeps telling me it's so much harder to get started on YouTube now, and I feel so bad for people, but it was hard to get started back then too. But now I feel like they're kind of making it a little bit more difficult or a little less rewarding. Because, like, sometimes people like to look at their statistics and see they made a few cents that day or something like that. And that little thing keeps them going because they're like, oh, that, you know, that's
at least,
a little encouraging.
Exactly. At least at the start, you're like,
you don't
okay.
have anything.
And then,
Now there's nothing. Now you're just crushed.
But is there something you wish you knew before you started, you know, the artistic career and maybe the YouTube channel and just this way of artistic lifestyle? Like advice to young self?
Advice to young self would to be not to listen to your art teacher if they don't like your art. Because as long as you like art and you keep doing it, you're going to improve and you're going to get better and your tastes are going to change. You're not always going to like the same thing or you're going to do the same sort of art. So if you have the passion for it, then you should pursue it instead of pursuing something else because someone in the field tells you that you're not good enough. So that's my own issue there is I really wanted to go to art school, but I ended up not. And I still feel bad about it to this day, you know, because I have a master's degree I can't use, but it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, that's kind of like you can do that. And then, I mean, like I studied management, then I studied multimedia. So I also didn't go to art school. And then it's just somehow I ended up doing art anyway.
Yeah.
So
I feel like telling like other people it's okay. It's, you know, you don't have to go to art school. You can make it into something you want to do and don't be defeated because, you know, some art teacher or some art person tells you you're not good enough because it's just one person's opinion in a world full of opinions.
That's true. And have you ever felt like lost or kind of had like struggles in your artistic journey? And maybe if you had something like that, what was the key takeaway or what you learned?
Struggles. It was just kind of like the morale thing with my teacher. That was a big thing I had to kind of overcome and just completely ignore because I had the same teacher for 4 years and he didn't like what I did. So that was kind of like something I had to kind of like push through. Mm-hmm. But nobody in my life was really particularly supportive of me going into art because a lot of people think that you can't make a living with art. It's also really difficult because, you know, you could try really hard and it's really hard to get traction. So having a whole bunch of people look at you and then think like, oh, you can't do it, you know, that kind of weighs on you. So that's kind of like where I'm going with it. Other than that, I don't have anything else that really kind of impacted me that would make me feel that way.
And so, but did you, how did you kind of motivated yourself, you know, like when it was like, oh, like maybe, yeah, I should just continue. So that would be the thing. But how did you, you know, like.
How did I do it?
Yeah, okay. How did you do it? Or did you meditate?
You have to like it. That's what I tell everyone. Like, you have to really enjoy doing it and you have to do it for yourself. Because if you're doing it to impress other people and if you're doing it to, make your teacher proud, or you're doing it for somebody else, then you're not going to want to keep doing it. You have to do it because you enjoy it and you love doing it. So that's kind of why I always kept doing it. And then I would upload it to the internet to share it with other people, because no one in my immediate life was that supportive. So I kind of found that support on the internet. And then I began selling stuff, and then it kind of blossomed from there. But without the internet, I probably would be a teacher.
And it would be, what would you be teaching? Like general stuff, like on high school, or like specific thing, like a math, or I don't know.
I am certified. I am tri-certified in the state of New York. So birth to grade 2, grades 1 through 6, and students with disabilities.
So you might have been teaching also art, like young students.
Art is kind of weird, though, because they just don't want you to have a teaching degree. Sometimes they want you to have some sort of a background that involves going to art school. And none of this really made sense to me, but the same with the music teachers as well here. But this is New York, and each state has their own kind of, I guess, prerequisites for getting a job. But I think in New York, at least in this area, because I'm very close to the city, you can't get a teaching job really in where I live unless you have a master's degree. But if you work in a private school, I think you need a 4-year degree, a bachelor's degree. But it varies based on school and what they're looking for. So it's really not easy. And then there's like 1 or 2 positions for art, and then the people never want to leave, and then there's only so many schools in the area, and then it would have been really difficult to get an art job. But I would have loved it. I would have been I'm going to be an art teacher. That would be so cool.
So maybe you will do more teaching in the future.
Maybe one day.
Yeah, because now you are online all the time. And so how do you do networking online? When you started to upload stuff, did you just write to people on DeviantArt, or now maybe on YouTube you do collaborations, or how do you make the relationships?
Well, the ones with the art supply companies, we've already went over that. That's completely separate from like other people. Yeah. So collaborations with other artists, if you're going to collaborate with someone, you want to look for someone who has kind of around the subscriber count you have. You have to also kind of make sure that they're as active as you are, because a lot of people who aren't active will contact me, and it's like, well, you don't upload. So there's really like no point. I mean, not to be mean, but for networking purposes, you kind of want to like find someone that's kind of in the same area as you. So I know it's like really tempting if you're a new artist to look up to someone on YouTube, like, I don't know, Jazza or something, or Mark Crilly, who have like a ton of subscribers. You know, if only I could get that collaboration with them, I'd be famous. But you have to kind of work your way up to it. So you can do some with your friends. They don't even have to have a subscriber count or something. You just do it with your friends, and then eventually you get bigger and bigger. You can find someone else's art you really enjoy, ask them, and then you kind of climb up from there. So, but over the years, I've asked a ton of people to collaborate with me. And some people haven't answered. Other people did answer. You know, some people were really nice about it. Some people weren't as nice about it, but you have to keep trying even if you're rejected. But yeah, nowadays when I do collaborations, it's just because I really like the person and I like their art, and I'm like, hi, I'm a fan of you. Let's do something, please. But if you're networking to try to grow your YouTube channel, it's very difficult. Like, you can't just skip a whole step and like become famous. It just doesn't work.
And for someone who doesn't know what is a collaboration, then you do video together and each of you will share it on your channel, right?
Yes. So it's basically, I guess back in DeviantArt days, you would do like, someone would do the line art and then the other person would color it, and then you'd both upload your pictures on your DeviantArt and link each other. It's the same sort of premise on YouTube, but you're making a video of what you're doing based on like, well, the most interesting one I had was that my partner would draw half the picture and then send it to me, and then I had to match the other half of the picture, so it was completely finished on one side. So there's different methods of doing the collaborations, but when you post it, you say like, I did this with so and so, and that's kind of how you share your people and stuff like that. But before I'm done, because I know I talk a lot, I have an interesting fact. So I was starting a vlog channel at one point. I didn't really know if I wanted to get into vlogging, but I did a collaboration with myself. So I uploaded art on this channel and uploaded art on that channel, and I was like, yeah, only 1,000 people went over. And I think I had over like 100,000.
So, but why didn't you?
It doesn't work. You can't beat the system. You gotta work for it. It just doesn't work, even when you're doing it with yourself.
But what about vlogs on your art channel? You don't combine that?
I used to kind of do my speed paints as vlogs, but it was really hard to kind of bring in a larger audience to my YouTube channel. So I kind of branched out and tried different things with it. But now I miss the vloggy sort of stuff that I used to, because I used to talk about what was going on.
Yeah, you should do that.
One time I ripped a tree out of the ground because it was dead and I didn't know. I was like, what's this? And I just ripped a tree. That was really fun. So I'm thinking like, I kind of want to bring that back because it was just fun for me. But at the same time, my viewers didn't like it as much. So I'm trying to combine that sort of like what I'm doing now with a story and see how that goes and see if people like that. So I'm always kind of considerate what other people like. Even though I like something, maybe other people don't like it as much.
Yeah, so the vlogs were not really connected with the art pieces, or it
Not
was
at
mostly
all.
the life, daily life, right?
Not at all. Didn't connect to the art at all. I might mention what I used to make something or what I was doing, but then I would talk about, what was going on that week, just silly stuff. So
And who kind of advised you, or did you have a mentor, or how do you maybe do research, or like what are the trending topics, or like maybe what are the content of the videos, what you will do, or like how to grow your channel, or how to monetize, or everything kind of like went along the way?
No. I had no mentor. I was constantly trying to find other people that wanted to do YouTube with me, because it's like a kind of a weird thing to do on your own and you want to have someone to talk to about it.
Yeah.
So I would try to convince people that I knew to start like a YouTube channel and do it with me, but I was always kind of by myself, and everything that I taught myself with art was just kind of my version of common sense, or what I thought made sense.
Yeah.
So I kind of taught myself how to do everything, which is weird, but now I kind of tell other people if they have questions, kind of how it worked for me. I mean, it might not necessarily be the same for you or anyone else out there, but I can only tell you what happened with me. And yeah, I just kind of bumbled through it and I got where I am now. So I'm lucky. I'm very lucky.
And so what would you say is the best thing you learned about maybe YouTubing and having the YouTubing, is that the word? I don't know. But
Sure, it is now.
like art channel on YouTube, and maybe what is not so good to do on YouTube, if you can kind of compare like the best advice or the worst advice.
Okay, so you really want to make sure that you have a good camera and you can get a clear picture of what you're doing, because people are going to look for you because of art. So you want them to be able to see what you're doing with your art pieces. So you have to kind of get used to video editing. And I don't have the best videos, but you can kind of see what I'm doing. So I don't have a lot of light in my house. So it kind of affects the look of what's going on here, but I actually have a really nice camera, so it's a shame. But you really need a nice camera, and you need to just do it, because if you keep saying, well, I'll just do it when I have this or next year or whatever, like you gotta just kind of do it and start. And then from there, you can kind of learn, like, okay, these people say my mic isn't that great. Like, maybe I should change what I'm doing with that, or this or that, and learn as you go. But you really need to just kind of get started, get a decent camera that's at least like 720p, and then just start. Just do it. As for bad things, I can't really say there's anything bad because there's really, other than having video quality that's not that great or having sound quality that's not that great, you can say whatever you want, I think, because there will always be people that will agree with you and people that disagree with you. So regardless of what you think about things or what you talk about, there will always be people who appreciate something, don't appreciate it, or whatever. You just basically got to start.
And so how do you deal maybe with the negative comments, or if you have like rude comments or bad feedback? Is there, you distinguish with me like not creative, like constructive feedback and like just purely rude, or how do you then deal with all of this?
There are certain comments that are kind of like critiquey stuff, and that's fine. I don't get those that often, and I always think it's interesting because whenever people point something out, I either agree with them or I say like, you might think it's that, but it's actually the nose or something. So I agree, like, my pictures aren't the best in the world, and that's totally fine because everyone's at their own point in their art journey, and they do different things when they want to do different things, and certain things are better than other things, and that's totally fine. So for art critiquing, which I don't really have happen very much, like, it's fine. I don't mind that. But there are other comments that are, when it becomes more about the person than the artwork, those can kind of be upsetting, especially if they take what you said and then they skew it. But it's like you kind of have to either ignore it or just block them. Like, I know it sounds bad, but sometimes when the comments are so offensive, that like that person's just kind of gunning for you. And then like they'll come back in another video and like leave more of those kinds of comments. So you have to kind of take it into consideration, not to be insensitive that you're blocking one of your viewers, but you have to think like, okay, this is my life, and I don't want to be upset all the time by constantly reading this guy's comments, and, it's just easier if you block them. So getting into huge fights isn't really the best option. It's kind of a waste of energy and time. And, as long as the comments are reasonable, like, I just leave them there. But unless they're kind of like, one video, I talked about my brother who had cancer, and then this guy is like, I hope your brother died from cancer. And I'm like, okay, I'm blocking you.
What?
Yeah, like, there's certain things where you're like, oh, this is messed up. And then there's like, I hope your brother dies from cancer. So it's like, okay, well, I'm going to block this guy, and this guy's okay.
I couldn't even believe that. How? Oh, okay. I have no words, basically.
Yeah, well, YouTube brings in a lot of different people. So as you get larger, kind of like more people find you, and there's like some not that nice people out there. So you have to really look at things and be like, okay, this would be upsetting, but I'm not going to let it upset me. I'm just going to delete it because it's stupid.
Well, yeah. Well, let's maybe transition to something positive, right? And it's hard transition, but for example, what are your inspirations, or something which kind of inspire you the most? Like, is there like nature or something you do daily which kind of positively impacts your like workflow or artistic, creations?
I'm inspired by colors. I really love colors. So if I go into nature and there's like these really pretty trees or something, I'll take pictures. Or if I'm going to a town I haven't been to, because I live in New York and there's a lot of different kinds of towns with different architecture, because like a whole bunch of different kind of people came here, Ellis Island and all that junk. So like I like to take pictures of buildings and different things like that. But the main thing that got me into drawing was video games, because I love video games so much, and I just love the artwork that was in all these video games. So that's where I started. But now I'm kind of like, well, I just like colors and buildings and architecture and just more like natural things that weren't made by other people. But I still have certain artists that I really do enjoy their work, so I'll look at that too. I do look at a lot of different artists on Instagram, but that's kind of just to get myself in the mood to start drawing. But yeah. that's kind of
So what is your favorite game concern? Like, if you think about art and background,
my favorite game for art and backgrounds and stuff.
something when you
Actually,
look at it and like, wow, that's amazing.
well, I can't say the word right. Bastion. I can't see. We already talked about this. The first thing I asked you was, how do you pronounce your name?
It's
And we're
tricky.
right back at there. I'm like, a video game. Bastion.
Something bash. Yeah, I don't even try to pronounce it because I'm not sure. So yeah.
I also love like Zelda games and stuff like that because it's just the character designs and like the clothing that they wear and the environments and the different kinds of characters are very interesting. So like certain video games are like very just visually interesting, and that's why I guess I like video games so much, and also like drawing stuff that's kind of like stuff that might be in a video game. So
And do you have also like a favorite art books maybe, or like game art books, or just other books you would kind of recommend, like, okay, I would give this as a present to someone?
I bought a lot of art books, but I wouldn't really recommend any of the ones that I have to someone else. They were interesting. I would probably lend them to the other person though, because I'm kind of like the person who gives out art supplies and books and stuff to other people. So, but I don't really have any special, super awesome, amazing book. But I do have some artists that I really do enjoy, and I know that they have art books. Like, once again, I'm going to butcher some names. Lois Van Barley. I can't say her
Barley.
name. Barley.
They just doesn't
Barley.
matter. They just said Lois.
Loish. You know, she's so talented. I love her. Her art's so pretty.
Oh, good. So the Lois's book, yeah, she has the second one now, yeah. So that's a good one as well. And,
Yeah, her
yeah.
art's just like, yeah, very nice. I like that.
Do you have any other books you like as well, or this is like your favorite one?
I don't really have that many books because a lot of sources are online. So if I ever really needed a source, I would just kind of look it up because books are expensive, especially when you're buying books that may have been printed by like a smaller amount by a specific person, like the price kind of gets jacked up more. Yeah. So I've always been really kind of conscious of how much money that I spend because life is expensive, especially with where I live. So I've always been trying to balance what I make and how much I spend. So books are things that I haven't really spent a lot of money on. Maybe when I was a kid, I used to get like a whole bunch of them. But now that I'm older, I kind of just look things up on the internet and try to find as much that way because it's free, except for the internet bill and the computer and the power.
It's true, almost.
It's sort of free.
And what about your future projects or something you would like to work on, like because you do a lot of different videos and a lot of different creations. So if you would kind of imagine yourself like 5 to 10 years, do you have like this dream scenario? What are the projects you're working on?
I really wanted to do a coloring book, and I got 25 pages in, and then I stopped because I lost the company that was going to print it. So I always wanted to do a coloring book, but now I'm kind of like, the art is so old that I could do something better now. So I'm afraid of continuing it or just like throwing it out and starting again. So I'm kind of like, I want to do a coloring book, but I'm also kind of like, I don't know if I should restart it or not. But I'd also like to do a comic, but that is like so time consuming. And I really have to have a good story to even start with the whole comic process. Because, or else it's kind of like a waste of time if you have a terrible story, So I'm trying to come up with an idea for that. But those are two things I would like to do, but I don't know if they're realistically going to get done.
Yeah,
I know, it's such a downer, right?
Yeah, I'm sure like when you want to do it, it will happen for sure.
Yeah.
But maybe
I'll make the time somehow.
Somehow, like who needs sleep, right? So you can do it at night.
I already don't get any sleep.
So see? So you can be productive at night. Or you can get your kids to write it, or something to help you with inspiration.
That's True.
That might be interesting story.
Someone else to write the story for me.
See, there are so many options.
It's true. I didn't really think about that. I'd have to find someone who's actually, I guess, on the
Good
same
with
wavelength, kind of like something I would illustrate or something.
Yeah, exactly. And
Anyone out there watching?
yeah, maybe. Yeah, so let's just write it in comments if someone is good at writing stories. So please let us know. And what about like far future? And I would like to know, what would you like to be remembered for in like 100 years? The epic question.
I don't think that many people are remembered in 100 years. Man, I hope they remember me for something good.
That would be a good thing.
Well, my whole thing is that I want to encourage other kids to pursue their dreams, to pursue art, and to do what makes them happy. So if I've somehow impacted somebody to do that, then that's all I need to be remembered for. I don't need like a ton of people remembering me in 100 years, but if you're like, hey, that girl back in the day inspired me to keep going, then that's great for me. That would make me very happy.
Oh, that would be really nice. Yeah, if someone is just kind of on the fence, like, should I pursue like creative career, and you would be the one to help them continue and inspire them. So that's super nice, definitely. And before we finish and just like say goodbye, maybe you can share last piece of advice or key takeaway, and then we will just slowly.
Key takeaways: you just gotta do it. You gotta put yourself out there. You gotta try, and you can't let anyone stop you. There will always be more people out there that like your art than dislike your art. You just have to make them find you. So that's my best advice. I don't have any advice as far as like, oh, you should go to this school or whatever, because I never went to school. But if you really, really want to do something, you can make it happen. You just have to be passionate and just force it to work. You can do it. I believe in you.
It's good. That's perfect advice. I love it. So let's just keep on going, learning, and just sharing stuff online. And someone who likes your art will find you, right? So
yeah,
definitely perfect. And thank you so much for being here and sharing your art journey.
Aw, thanks for having me. I had so much fun.
Definitely my pleasure. It was so fun. And and thanks everyone who joined today, and see you in the next episode. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and let me know in comments. Also, please subscribe to my channel for more videos, because I post new interview every single workday. You can also find the resources mentioned in this episode at artsideoflife.com. Just type a guest name in the search bar. There is also a little freebie waiting for you, so go check it out. If you want to listen to the interviews on the go, make sure to check out the podcast episodes at artsideoflife.com/podcast. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you, and don't forget to inspire each other. I will see you guys in the next episode.